What is a concussion?
A concussion?
Is that when somebody's unconscious?
I don't really know.
I don't know, you just knocked out, you're unconscious.
I actually don't know. I just know it's like somebody gets hurt.
There's blood in your hand and you can't, like, your brain can't function because the blood is just...
So a concussion is a brain injury. It can happen when there's a force taken to the head or body that causes the brain to shake inside of the skull. And when the head moves quickly and stops, the brain can continue to shake. The signs of an injury may include somebody being very clumsy or sort of uncoordinated in their movements, slowed down. Somebody may just be confused and have trouble remembering recent information, or otherwise sort of being out of it. Parents or coaches report somebody feeling or somebody looking just kind of glassy-eyed and distant. Individuals with concussions tend to cluster into four main categories. There are physical symptoms, including headaches, dizziness, sensitivity to light or sensitivity to noise, nausea or potentially vomiting. There's emotional symptoms, just getting more upset by things, angered or feeling sad or nervous about things. There can be sleep-related changes, so somebody may require a lot more sleep than is typical for them, or they may have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. And then there's also cognitive symptoms, where somebody may have trouble paying attention or learning and remembering new information, or they may just kind of feel mentally foggy or slowed down.
According to the Center for Disease Control, there are between 1.6 and 3.8 million sports-related concussions. We met with Holly Hughes, a soccer player at Eleanor Roosevelt High School, and myself to get our personal accounts on our experience with concussions.
I've had one concussion and 2 or 3 post-concussions.
I've had one concussion. It was only a mild concussion, so it wasn't as bad as some other people.
I had my first concussion when I was in a soccer game and I was tripped from behind. I flipped over backwards twice and landed on my head on the ground.
It was during a soccer game, and there was a breakaway between me and this guy on the other team, and I came out to stop the ball like I normally do. I'm a goalkeeper, by the way. And I came out hands first to go stop it, and he kicked it before my hands got there, and it just kind of hit me straight on in the forehead.
We, as coaches in PG County, we must take a course, actually, and it's about an hour long. There's also a test that goes along with it, basically telling us about concussions, and we must pass the test with a passing grade to be a certified coach.
I saw a doctor after my concussion, maybe 2 days after.
I didn't go to the doctor for about a day.
The primary treatment for concussions really revolves around letting the brain do the healing that it normally wants to do. When that force is taken and there's changes in brain chemistry and really sort of a software injury rather than a structural injury, the brain, of course, works to heal itself and to fix that problem. And in order to facilitate that, in order to help that happen, somebody really needs to rest. And it's physical rest, but it's also mental rest. It's a reduction of stress. It's a reduction of school-related activities or sometimes social activities.
This is my concussion headband, and I wear it every time I practice or play soccer. It goes all around my head from here all the way to the back, and it covers a lot in the back. It reduces and cuts concussion risks in half.
The testing that typically goes along with the injury is predominantly done after the fact, and it's used to help both guide recovery, but also to add extra information about whether or not the brain is fully recovered.
In school, it's hard to concentrate in class, and sometimes homework is difficult and takes me longer than usual.
Couldn't watch TV, couldn't use the computer, I couldn't text, I couldn't go to school. I was out of school for about a week.
When somebody has a brain injury and is not able to pay attention in school or not able to do schoolwork, grades will fall, potentially. When somebody is pulled out of sports and other social activities that they enjoy and love to do, there's risks in terms of mood and frustration and depression or other mental health symptoms. There is also a risk when somebody has a brain injury or has a concussion and they return to sports too quickly. And that can present as a fairly significant risk, because while the brain is healing, it's still more vulnerable. And if somebody takes additional hits to the brain or additional forces, there can then be a process by which there is bleeding, there is swelling, and you have either a fatal or a more permanently disabling injury.
MedStar Health research examined 12 high school boys and girls sports leagues over an 11-year period. There was a 15.5% increase in the number of concussions every year. 257 of the people who experienced concussions had 2 or more.
What often or can often happen is that if somebody gets hit again, takes repeated blows to an injured brain, the injury becomes much more complicated, it's much longer, it's harder to recover from.
A lot of them don't know that they have a concussion and may walk off the field and may collapse. So we're also trained to, if they do have a concussion, to take them off the field. And if we don't take them off the field, it becomes our responsibility. So then I may get into trouble also. So the best practice is to get them off the field and get them checked out.
You could have headaches, you could have dizziness for a number of reasons. Just because you have a symptom of a concussion, just because you have a headache, does not mean you have a concussion. Now, if you do have a concussion, there are risks. And as I mentioned, in the extreme end, if you get hit again, you could have bleeding or swelling or something very permanent. But in greater likelihood, you've got a longer-term injury with much greater consequences. And so if there is any suspicion of an injury, you really need to tell your coach, tell your teammates, let somebody know that you took a hit and that you don't feel well. And then it's really the responsibility of the system to get you onto a healthcare provider who's knowledgeable and who can do the appropriate evaluation.
If you have some kind of head accident where you bump heads with someone or something hits you in the head and it causes you to have a headache or you feel pain, I think you should go get checked out by the doctor, just to be sure, because concussions are serious.